Number 15. Pokémon Go causes a breakup. Aside from the constant tweets about Pokémon Go helping people get laid, bond with their partner, or meet new love interests, this game has actually caused some turmoil in other romantic departments. A young man from Queens, New York shared a story about how the game led to his girlfriend finding out he had been unfaithful to her. He had apparently been at an ex-lover's house while playing the game. His current girlfriend snooped through his phone and saw the locations at which his most recent Pokémon were caught. When she saw the Pokémon were caught at his ex-flame's home, she asked him about it, and when he didn't have a good excuse, she broke up with him. There was never an update to this story, so it isn't unlikely that the pair worked it out. It is odd though to think that an innocent game of catching digital creatures could cause a relationship to end. Then again, this was more the fault of a cheating boyfriend than a fun app. Number 14. The Church vs LGBT. One of the main features in this game are the gyms. Most of the time this is all in good fun and doesn't get too serious. Aside from some cases of nearly gang violence that will be mentioned later on this list, one of the most shocking cases in relation to gym control comes from the Westboro Baptist Church and local LGBT players. As many may know, the Westboro Baptist Church is known for its extremist views in opposition to LGBT people and their lifestyles, as well as very controversial protests and movements in recent years. Regardless, the church was listed as a gym, as most churches are in the game. When a player was walking through the town trying to catch them all, they discovered this and claimed the gym as their own using a Clefairy by the name Love is Love. This was of course taken as a huge insult and serious problem by the church. They actually fought back by using a Jigglypuff to regain power of the church. The official Twitter page for the Westboro Baptist Church published this photo. An elder of the church, Stephen Drain, stated that they would use whatever language or trends were popular to reach out and spread awareness of sin. Drain also shared that while Pokemon might be idolized over religion, he saw no harm in using the game to the church's advantage. The current status of the gym is unknown, but this battle is one you might want front row seats to. All the years of being put down by the church, and the LGBT community finally has a non-violent, lighthearted way to fight back. Number 13. Random Pokémon Gym. Most of the gyms in the Pokémon game are located at churches, historical monuments, museums, and other important landmarks as such. But there seemed to have been a mix-up when planning out the map for the game, and a random civilian had their home listed as a gym. With all the hype this game has produced, and with the number of players completely obsessed with catching Pokemon, having your personal space listed as a key point in the game is a pretty scary thought. Boone Sheridan, the owner of this home, explains that this entirely mishap occurred because his home used to be a church several years ago. It was remodeled and sold as a home where he currently resides. Boone explains that people park in front of his home, standing outside in small groups, and casually stop outside the gate while walking all throughout the day and night. He has generally tried to make the best of it, as Pokestops and gyms can only be reported if they pose a physical danger to players. There's no current option for reporting a location as inaccurate, or if the owners don't want this kind of attention. Either way, Boone has taken photos with players and even became friends with the current owner of the gym. While he does hope to have his home removed from the map as a gym, he hasn't seemed too angry or distraught about the situation. He claims that as long as no danger comes to him or his wife, and no violence occurs in the immediate vicinity, he can deal with it. Many players claim that they could see this as being an issue for him when battling other players becomes a feature of the game, because a huge concern is violence amongst players. Number 12. The Holocaust Pokémon. Having museums or historic locations listed as Pokestops or gyms doesn't seem like a bad idea at first. It's a great way to get people out to the locations that can be filled with learning, but some locations would have been best left off the map. Holocaust museums and memorials in several locations across the U.S., Australia, and other parts of the world have been marked as Pokestops and gyms. This has led to huge groups of people flocking to the locations to engage in the game. Again, this doesn't seem like such a bad idea until you're hearing a tour guide explain the millions of deaths caused by the genocide which took place during the Holocaust, and you see tweens, teens, and even adults flicking imaginary balls at virtual creatures on their phone. It's pretty disrespectful and disruptive to those there to learn about history and possibly their own heritage. Again, this isn't really the fault of the game or its creators, as they probably assume that people would play at these locations after a quick tour or educational run. Instead, people who lack self-control are traveling to these locations not to learn or mourn, but solely for the game. The best tip here is not to take something sacred and tragic and make it a joke because of a game. If you're traveling to one of these museums or memorials, take the time to learn something new about the Holocaust and those affected by it before you start throwing your Pokeballs at a nearby Pidgey. For locations like these, only play the game while on break or in areas where people aren't trying to experience the museum. Play in cafeterias or restaurants at these locations, or in empty lobbies, or at least not in the middle of a speech. Number 11. Cemeteries. Much like the issue with the Holocaust museums, certain location choices in the game have led to people trying to catch Pokemon in pretty unsettling places. Most of the time, cemeteries are used for mourning loved ones, or the very occasional artsy photo or video shoot, and on Halloween it's a great place to freak yourself out considering all of the bodies decaying beneath the ground. None of these things sound similar to the act of pulling out your phone and running around to catch Pikachus and Jigglypuffs. But that's exactly what has been happening. People have posted photos and videos on social media, often in shock that their local cemeteries are listed as stops and gyms. Even some very old cemeteries with tombstones dating back to the early 1800s have been listed. People have explained while playing the game that they simply follow the path offered for certain Pokemon and they find themselves outside of or literally in a cemetery. Other odd places that players have been led to are public bathrooms, dark alleys, and the backyards of residents. While what specific Pokemon are placed amongst the dead has not been shared, there haven't been any claims of very rare ones being found in those locations. So if cemeteries are something that make you uncomfortable, then don't worry about missing out. Number 10. U.S. Soldier. While in battle in Iraq, an American soldier named Lewis Park took a screenshot of the Pokemon Go game. The photo was a Squirtle standing in the middle of the Iraqi desert as a Pokeball rested atop his machine gun. Park claims that posting the image to social media was a mistake and he didn't want the attention the viral post has gained him. He does believe that the viral post will help raise awareness and bring attention to the wars and battles occurring in Iraq though. He also states that he only decided to play the game because he had played it as a child and all of his friends from home were on the bandwagon. Many claim that this was an irresponsible move and he should have been more focused while out in the field, but Park and those that fight alongside him say he's very serious about what he does, and this was just him trying to have a little everyday joy while in the midst of battle. Number 9. Pokémon Stalker. This terrifying story comes from Reddit user Shut That Xylophone Up. She shares that Pokémon Go has been a great way for her to get up and out of her house and be more active. One night she planned to go to a local park where trainers had been herding to lately. The park was allegedly very safe and in a well-rounded neighborhood, or so she thought until she met a guy sitting in a gazebo. She was eager to talk to him, as she had been using Pokémon Go to work through anxiety and socialize more. The pair had a great chat and she was relieved that it went so well. Then she tried to leave though and things got kind of dark. The unknown man followed her and began asking personal questions and making comments about how attractive she was. In her post, she states, "I kept trying to tell him that I didn't feel comfortable with those comments, and he just said that I shouldn't argue when someone calls me beautiful and I have low self-esteem because I won't accept it, etc." As other players in the park made an attempt to come up and socialize, this strange guy followed her around and basically made them uncomfortable as well, and essentially scared them off, so it was only the two of them. As she grew more unsettled by this near stalker's presence, she finally said that she had to go, but he followed her to her car and pressed for answers about the child's car seat in the back. He then asked for a ride to the store and home. While she did manage to make a great excuse, he pushed one last time to see her phone. He put his number in her contacts and called himself to have her own number. She was unaware that this was his plan, as he had originally claimed to only want to see her progress on the Pokemon Go app. The girl went home in tears because a situation like this can be very hard for someone who suffers from social anxiety. Pretty much anyone would feel uneasy in a situation like this, and the added effect of social anxiety just makes it that much worse. She later found out that he had also somehow pickpocketed her for about $150. Of course, someone out there always has to try to take the fun out of everything. This young lady just wanted to go out and have fun while trying to meet people, but instead she was met with a horrible and unforgettable experience. A positive follow-up to the story explains that the user had a big burly male friend of hers go to the park, where the same sleazebag was still sitting around bumming cigarettes off people. Her friend Chino threatened him and called him out on the situation. The creepy guy admitted that he had taken the money. He returned half of it but said the other half had already been spent on weed, dope, and cigarettes. Well, this situation wasn't the girl's fault at all. It's a friendly reminder to use the buddy system while out Pokemon hunting. Number 8. The Sex Offenders Pokestop. This entry seems to wrap up a lot from the list so far. It involves an oddly placed Pokestop and very creepy guys. Luckily, not everyone in this story falls under the creepy category. The Sunny Acres Sober Living Facility only houses 10 low-risk sex offenders, while the other 72 residents are people who suffer from mental illness, drug addiction, and poverty. The owner of the facility, Dan Duval, was alerted that his ranch-like facility was a Pokestop when a local news team showed up to film the location as part of a story warning parents about the dangers of letting children play unattended. As we know, some of the GPS information on Pokémon Go is a little outdated. It's likely that this location served another purpose or was not privately owned before the game was developed, which led to it landing on the map as a Pokestop. Duval states that he wants no part of the game and he certainly doesn't want children coming up on the property. Having kids stumble into the facility in search of Pokemon can cause some of his residents to unknowingly violate their parole or probation and be sent back to prison. He also states that in a more general sense, it's not a great place for kids to visit. Duval has been fighting with the county for years now because of his facility, as they claim it doesn't meet certain fire safety or sanitation requirements. Duval isn't looking for any more trouble, but that doesn't change the fact that having a key point of a beloved children's game land at a halfway house for sex offenders is a bit offsetting. More important, with the way this game has taken over, a resident could easily set up a lure or incense to get children and players to flock to the scene and get these people in trouble when they've done nothing to violate the terms which they're legally bound to. Even despite the sex offenders living in this home, other residents have said that if the facility were to be shut down, they'd have nowhere else to go. Number 7. Player hits a cop car. As soon as the Pokemon Go game began to really pick up, not only amongst young kids but also amongst teens and adults, strange ads and warnings came out about not playing and driving or being more careful when walking. In fact, as the app loads, there's a quick warning about being aware of your surroundings at all times. First, it was don't drink and drive, then don't text and drive, now don't be the very best and drive. Of course, there's always people who ignore these warnings and are distracted drivers anyways. A group of Baltimore police officers were standing outside their patrol vehicle and chatting while on off time. A car traveling down the road suddenly sideswipes their patrol car at such a high speed that the car literally is lifted onto the curb. The officers caught up with the car, which came to a stop a little further down the road. The driver got out and explained that he was playing Pokemon Go and quote, "That's what I get for playing this dumbass game." Luckily, no one was in the patrol car, and no one in the driver's car was hurt either. As if it even needs to be said, this is a great example of exactly what can happen when you aren't paying attention to the road. It could have been much worse. Number 6. Player gets hit by a car. Here is an even better example of what can happen if you play Pokemon Go without paying attention to your surroundings. A 15-year-old from Pittsburgh was hit by a car on the highway because she wasn't aware of her surroundings as she played the virtual game. She was trying to catch a specific Pokemon and the path she had to take led her across a 4-lane intersection when she was struck by a vehicle. She blamed the game for placing the Pokemon in a location that she had to use a road to access, and her mother also blamed the game for getting kids out into the world and the streets. According to an investigation, there was a clear intersection where the teen crossed, but it's uncertain if she simply didn't check before walking or if the car was unable to see her. This is another lesson in being more careful while playing the game, using the buddy system, and of course always looking both ways before you cross the street. This is also a great lesson to parents that have young teens or children playing the game. Either don't let them out into the world alone, or be sure they're aware of certain safety precautions. Whether you're the player, the driver, or just in the midst of the game, we should all be more careful while on the road catching Pokemon. Number 5. A drug deal. This game has spread like some kind of amazing plague. People are out and about playing and having a great time, meeting new people, and even breaking down social barriers. Reddit user Sloth of Doom shared a pretty strange yet pretty cool story of just how this game is changing the world a little bit at a time. Apparently, Sloth was unable to sleep one night, so he decided to go for a late night walk and catch some Pokemon. It was about 3 in the morning when he came across 2 other men playing the game. They gave him some great insight on a great Pokemon nearby, and then the group sat on the street and just talked for about an hour. A cop eventually pulled up and accused the three of them of being involved in a drug deal. In Sloth of Doom's original post, he stated, quote, "Yeah, so it turns out two 20-something black dudes and a 40-year-old white guy chilling in the park at 3 a.m. looks strange. It took a bit of talking to convince the cop we weren't doing a drug deal, and a bit longer to explain the game. Not only did the cop let them off without running their names or searching them, he also asked how he could download the game because he was apparently very interested in playing. With all of the cop-related controversy happening in the US, it's nice to know that virtual creatures are bringing everyone together even if it's just a little." Number 4, the Robberies. One of the most talked about shocking things to happen in relation to this game are the Robberies. People have been setting up lures or incense either at Pokestops, gyms, or in unrelated sketchy locations to get players to flock to the area, where they are then robbed. This has happened several times in different regions, but one of the most memorable has been in the town of O'Fallon, Missouri. 4 teens aged 16 to 18 set up lures in dark alleys and deserted parking lots where they then committed armed robberies against unsuspecting players. Up to 11 robberies were committed by the teens and a handgun was found in the vehicle they used, most likely their weapon of choice for threatening the players. The teens faced charges in relation to the robberies, and everyone interested in the game was taught to be cautious about lures in odd areas, and again to travel with a friend or in small groups. If you see a lure set up behind a sketchy corner store, it's probably best just to avoid the area. While this game is fun and addictive, it certainly isn't worth your personal belongings, finances, or especially your life. Number 3, players fall off a cliff. Perhaps one of the most severe cases of players not being aware of where they're going or what they're doing comes from the story of 2 friends in Enchiladas, California. The 2 men were playing the game while walking when they somehow became so distracted that they fell off a 50 to 90 foot cliff. Several feet before approaching the cliff were signs that read "No trespassing" and "Do not cross," probably to keep wanderers away from the dangers of the cliff. Despite these warnings, and despite the warning mentioned at the start of the game to be cautious, the 2 men still fell. Firefighters arrived on the scene to hoist the players up and carry them to a local hospital where they were treated for minor injuries. This could have of course been much worse, but playing a game so avidly that you miss warnings of a cliff is pretty extreme. While the game does call for a lot of attention to the phone, there are always ways to play carefully, and there's always the option of playing in moderation and sticking to areas you're familiar with. Granted, the point of the game is to get out and explore, but that doesn't always mean putting yourself in dangerous situations or settings. Number 2, man stabbed while catching them all. 21-year-old Michael Baker was playing the game around 1 a.m. earlier this month. He explained that he was obsessed with the game as a child and is just as dedicated and involved with the revival of this beloved game. He was playing so late at night due to his determination to catch them all. A man walked by and he simply asked if the man was also playing the game. For unknown reasons, the man pulled out a knife and quickly sliced Baker's shoulder before running off without saying much. Although Baker seemed to think that the man, quote, wanted to battle, he also said that he didn't immediately go to the hospital because he still wanted to spend some time catching Pokemon, and he didn't think the wound was that severe. When he finally did go to the ER, he was treated with 8 stitches. Although his wound wasn't that serious, it's still unsettling to think that someone could handle the pain of a stab wound just for the sake of capturing Pokemon. In the news report, Baker stated, quote, "I gotta catch 'em all." He apparently wants to be the first person to truly catch them all in the game. Number 1, teen finds dead body. Of course, we've saved the best and creepiest for last. 19-year-old Shayla Wiggins dove right into the hype of the game as everyone else did, dedicating her first day to catching about 50 Pokemon. On her second day of playing, she decided to explore the Bing Wind River near her home to find a water Pokemon. She traveled quite far from home before realizing where she was. Shayla didn't come to a stop until she found what she was looking for and smelt a strong, pungent scent. As she finally saw where she was, she also saw a corpse. She was apparently standing pretty close to it when she finally came to a stop and noticed the smell. She immediately ran from the scene and called 911. When police arrived, she led them to the body, which was believed to either be a homeless or mentally ill man that drowned in the river and washed up on shore, and had been dead for at least 3 days at the time his corpse was discovered. More details on the man's identity and the nature of his death were never released, but Shayla's mother did report that her daughter was doing better after a few days and is still actively playing the game. Shayla also reported that while she knows she would have never been in that area if it weren't for the game, she was oddly thankful that she was able to help discover this body, as the man's family had probably been worried and searching for at least several days. So while this story is pretty unsettling due to a rotting corpse being involved, it's also a pretty happy ending because otherwise the man's body may have never been found. Thanks for checking out this countdown. Be sure to subscribe as we upload new videos every week. It'd really mean a lot if you join the notification squad by clicking this gear button, checking this box, and then clicking save. See ya.